Hi, this is Mr. Dunbar. Welcome to my Grade 10 Computer Studies virtual classroom. Here we're going to take up the homework sheet number 2 for evaluating Boolean expressions. In this first slide, you see the answers to questions 1 and 2. If you have any questions about these, please ask your teacher or ask the person sitting close to you. If you're curious about the answers, pause the slide and examine the questions. Here are the questions without answers for question 3. Again, if you would like to examine these questions before you see the solutions, pause the video now. Here are the first 5 questions for question 3. They each expose you to something different. The first looks at exponents. The second looks at mod, which could be looking at even and odd numbers. The third one looks at the effect of the int function, the int function, and what it does to values that are negative and positive. And the fourth one looks at absolute values, while the fifth one gives you order of operations practice. So in the first one, I leave it up to you to look at the details. It's a straightforward mathematical operation that you've seen in grades 9 and 10. In this case, this is how modulus works, and this one could be testing for even and odd values. In the third case, this is how the int function works, which behaves somewhat unexpectedly in that if you have a negative value, it finds the next largest integer. So in this case, negative 7.5 actually becomes negative 8. For the absolute function, it works as expected. And finally, for question E, in this case you are dealing with order of operations, where you must remember that for Visual Basic, multiplication and division happen before integer division, which can affect the exact value of your output. At this point, you may want to pause the video to look at the explanations at your leisure. Here we have a few more questions, starting off with a numerical comparison, and the remainder here are string operations. What you should remember about string operations is that you refer to the relational operator in terms of comes after and comes before. So in this case, we have 3 comparisons where the first item came after the second item. And in this case, all comparisons were done with the same case, uppercase with uppercase, and lowercase with lowercase. In this example, you had some concatenation. This is where 3 separate string fragments were concatenated into one larger string and compared with a string on the right, and in this case they both appear to be true. And the final 2 items on this page deal with digits when they are treated as if they were strings. You might remember that in the ASCII character set, 2 comes before S. Any number comes before any letter. And likewise, what you know about numbers, 1 comes before 2. Even in the ASCII character code set, 1 comes before 2. Here is a final thought. If you wish to read it, I strongly recommend you pause. These comparisons continue the string comparisons, and in some of these cases you've got same case with same case comparisons. So for example, March and April, the capital M and the capital A are being compared. In the second case, you have 2 lowercase letters being compared. Notice how I've underlined all of the letters that are becoming important in the comparisons. Again, lowercase with lowercase. Here we are comparing, in question P, we're comparing a letter with a symbol, which obviously can work since they're both treated as characters. Uppercase with lowercase, and in this case again, uppercase with uppercase. I'd like to rewind to P, because this one requires a little bit more explanation. When the computer is comparing whom with who. First it looks at the capital W's, decides they're equal. Then the H's, which happen to be lowercase, they also are equal. Then the O's, which happen to be equal. And finally, the M with the question mark. At this point, the computer has enough information to make a decision about this particular relational operation, and it can decide that equals is not true, which means that it's false. And that's how all string comparisons are performed. Here we've got a few more oddities. In the first case, we're comparing space with a letter. Recall that space in the ASCII character set comes before everything else. So in this case, obviously, it is true. In the next case, we are comparing strings with a numeric value. That's a type mismatch error. You can't compare numbers and strings. And then finally, when we're comparing 7 with an uppercase with 7 with a lowercase, this is an easy comparison. They are not equal because uppercase and lowercase letters are not the same. Here are the final solutions. You can pause the video here and examine them. You can write them down, compare them with what you did on your homework. Now, I took question 3 and I turned it into a program just to demonstrate how it would work. Feel free to pause after each one to examine how the computer treated these particular Boolean expressions. And that was the video. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please ask your teacher or ask the person sitting beside you.